Lady Macbeth analysis. Macbeth's wife, Lady Macbeth, is one of the most powerful female characters in the Macbeth play. She lacks all humanity and has an unchecked ambition. Lady Macbeth is first introduced and portrayed in Act 1, Scene 5. In this act and scene, it is shown that Lady Macbeth receives a letter from her husband Macbeth, reading that he believes the witch's prophecy is true and his desire to be crowned the Thraneship of Cawdor. Lady Macbeth knows that Macbeth is ambitious, but feels he is too full of the milk of human kindness to take the steps necessary to make himself king, seeing that he has to commit regicide to become the king. She resolves to convince Macbeth to do whatever is required to seize the crown. A messenger enters and informs Lady Macbeth that the king rides towards the castle and that Macbeth is on his way as well. As she awaits her husband's arrival, she delivers a famous speech in which she begs, "Ye spirits that tend on mortal thoughts, unsex me here, and fill me from the crown to the top full of dearest cruelty." She resolved to put her natural femininity aside so that she can do the bloody deeds to seize the crown. Macbeth enters, and he and his wife discuss the plans to depart the next day. But Lady Macbeth declares that the king will never see it tomorrow. She tells her husband to have the patience and leave the plan to her. Interaction with other characters. Lady Macbeth may seem as a person who has no remorse for human life, and this is shown in a limited interaction with other characters. Lady Macbeth has very limited interaction with other characters in the play. In Act 1, Scene 6, when Duncan arrives, she greets him as a hostess receiving such an honor should. In Act 2, Scene 1, Banquo makes reference to a diamond with which Duncan has given to Lady Macbeth. It's not clear whether this is an actual gem or it's a metaphor, the honor of being visited in Lady Macbeth's house. Regardless, it is still not much interaction, especially since it appears that the gift is presented through Banquo to Macbeth before getting to Lady Macbeth. In Act 2, Scene 3, when Duncan's body is discovered, nothing more than the usual and expected responses are made to Lady Macbeth. At the banquet in Act 3, Scene 4, Lady Macbeth calls the guests worthy friends and good peers, but it lacks sincerity. She has no more interaction until Act 5, when she has gone mad and it appears that most of the interaction is with her lady-in-waiting. Finally, at the end of the play, in Malcolm's final speech, he refers to Lady Macbeth as Macbeth's friend-like queen. The relationship Lady Macbeth had with other characters was limited or not very good. Apparently, other characters saw her as conniving and the ambitious woman that she was. Also, Lady Macbeth has a very interesting use of speech. In Act 1, Scene 5, she says her most known quote, and I quote, "The raven himself is a horse that cracks the fatal entrance of Duncan. Under my battlements come ye spirits that tend on mortal thoughts, unsex me here, and fill me from the crown to top full of dearest cruelty. Make thick my blood, stop the access and passage to remorse, that no conspicuous visitings of nature shake fell purpose, nor keep peace between the affected and it. Come to my woman's breast, and take my guilt milk for gal, ye murdering witches. Whatever in your sightless substances, you wait on nature's mischief. Come, thick night, and pale thee in the dunner smoke of hell, that my keen knife see not the woman it makes, nor heaven peep through the blanket of dark, to cry, hold, hold." In this speech, there is no such confusion, as Lady Macbeth is clearly willing to do whatever is necessary to seize the throne. Her strength of purpose is contrasted with her husband's tendency to waver. The speech shows the audience that Lady Macbeth is the real steel behind Macbeth and that her ambition will be strong enough to drive her husband forward. At the same time, the language of this speech touches on the theme of masculinity. "Unsex me here, come to my woman's breast and take my milk for gal," Lady Macbeth says as she prepares herself to commit the murder. The language suggests her womanhood, represented by breast and milk, usually symbols of nurture, impedes her from performing acts of violence and cruelty, which is associated with manliness. Later, the sense of relationship between masculinity and violence will be deepened when Macbeth is unwilling to go through with the murders, and his wife tells him, in effect, that he needs to be a man and get on with it. In terms of spirituality, like Macbeth's spirituality was very unhealthy, as she had desire and want to kill. She was deprived of humanity and lived by mortal thoughts. The play Macbeth was set in the Jacobean era. Lady Macbeth was not a typical Jacobean woman, as she was vain, ambitious, who drove her husband to kill. The Jacobean era was a very stereotypical era, and the modern day Jacobean era would be the issue of gender equality. In conclusion, Macbeth's role in the Macbeth play is very important, as she is one of the main female characters, and without her, the play would not be the same.